The story of Noela Rukundo is one that seems straight out of a suspense film, filled with unexpected twists. Imagine this. You are at your own funeral, watching from a distance while everyone believes you are dead. Does that seem impossible? Well, this was Noela's reality in 2016. But let's go back to the beginning to understand how she got to this point. Noela Rukundo lived in Melbourne, Australia, with her husband, Balenga Kalala. They had been together for over 10 years and had 3 children. Noela knew the marriage wasn't perfect, but she could never have imagined the diabolical plot her husband was planning. It all began when Noela's stepmother passed away, a tragic event that took her back to Burundi, Africa for the funeral. After the ceremony, Noela returned to the hotel where she was staying, exhausted and emotionally shaken. She called Balenga to tell him how she was feeling, and he suggested she go for a walk to clear her mind. It seemed like innocent advice from a concerned husband, but it was part of a much darker plan. As soon as Noela left the hotel, an armed man suddenly appeared, pointing a gun at her and ordering her not to scream. Terrified, she complied and was taken to an unknown location with a cloth covering her head throughout the journey. Upon arriving at the hideout, Noela was tied to a chair and confronted by her kidnappers. They wanted to know what she had done to make someone pay to have her killed. Confused and terrified, Noela denied knowing anything. That's when the kidnappers revealed a shocking truth. Balenga Kalala, her husband, had hired them to kill her. Noela was incredulous and began to scream, insisting they were lying. To prove their point, the kidnappers called Balenga in front of her. When he answered, one of the kidnappers said, "We have her." Balenga's response was cold and direct. "Kill her." At that moment, Noela felt her world collapse. She couldn't speak, only listen to the voice of the man she loved ordering her death. However, the kidnappers had a code of honor and did not kill women or children. They decided to deceive Balenga, pretending they had completed the job. They kept Noela captive for 2 days, during which she lived in constant fear, not knowing if she would get out alive. Finally, the kidnappers released her on a deserted road, giving her a cell phone and a USB drive with recordings proving Balenga's involvement in the scheme. With the help of an Australian pastor, Noela managed to secretly return to Melbourne, while Balenga believed his plan had succeeded and she was dead. Upon returning to Melbourne, Noela Rukundo was determined to expose the truth and confront Balenga Kalala, her treacherous husband. With the support of the Australian pastor who had helped her return home in secret, Noela began to plan her surprise appearance, something that would shock everyone and reveal Balenga's true nature. Meanwhile, Balenga had no idea what was coming. Convinced that his wife was dead, he organized a funeral for Noela, where he displayed false sadness and received condolences from friends and family. Little did he know that Noela was alive and determined to expose him. Hidden in a car on the street near her own house, Noela waited patiently for the right moment to reveal the truth. When the last funeral guest left, Noela stepped out of the car and walked towards her house. Balenga, seeing her, was completely shocked, believing he was seeing a ghost. Noela seized the moment of confusion to shout, "Surprise! I'm still alive!" The expression of terror and disbelief on Balenga's face was unforgettable. Immediately after the initial confrontation, Noela called the police, who arrested Balenga on the spot. During the interrogation, he initially denied any involvement, but the evidence was undeniable. The recordings provided by the kidnappers clearly showed his participation in the plot to kill Noela. Confronted with the proof, Balenga eventually confessed, claiming he acted out of jealousy, fearing that Noela would leave him for another man during her trip to Burundi. Balenga Kalala's trial was highly publicized, with many people shocked by the brutality and coldness of his actions. In court, Noela testified against him, detailing the horror she experienced at the hands of the kidnappers and the devastating betrayal by her husband. The community was divided between supporting Noela and the disbelief at Balenga's actions. Balenga was sentenced to 9 years in prison, a relief for Noela, who finally saw justice being served. However, the story did not end there. After Balenga's imprisonment, Noela faced a series of challenges. The community where they lived was shaken, and many turned against her, blaming her for the events that led to Balenga's imprisonment. Noela's house was vandalized, and she faced constant threats and harassment. Despite these hardships, Noela continued to rebuild her life, demonstrating incredible resilience and strength in the face of adversity. Her story remains a testament to the power of truth and the unbreakable human spirit. Even in the face of so much adversity, Noela remained steadfast. She knew that her survival and exposing the truth were vital not only for her safety, but also to inspire other women in similar situations. Noela continued to live in Melbourne, raising her children and rebuilding her life. In interviews, she often mentioned that she would let God judge Balenga and that she had already forgiven him in her heart, trying to find peace amidst the chaos. With Balenga Kalala sentenced and serving his time, Noela Rukundo began the difficult process of rebuilding her life. After the intense media exposure, she found herself in a divided community and facing challenges beyond the physical and emotional trauma she had endured. The house that was once a safe home was now a place of painful memories and constant vigilance. Despite the difficulties, Noela decided she would not be defined by the past. She sought psychological support to deal with post-traumatic stress, and found strength in her children, who needed her more than ever. The decision to stay in Melbourne was not easy, but she felt that running away was not an option. The presence of true friends and the pastor who helped her return provided the support she needed to move forward. Noela began sharing her story at lectures and community events, using her experience to raise awareness about domestic violence and the importance of recognizing the signs of an abusive relationship. Her story resonated especially among immigrant women, who often face additional barriers when seeking help. During her public appearances, Noela emphasized that although she felt forgiveness in her heart, it did not mean she forgot what she had gone through. Forgiving Belenga was a way to free herself from the burden of revenge and bitterness, allowing her to live a fuller and more positive life. She also highlighted the importance of the support network she found, stressing that no one should face such challenges alone. Noela's story also attracted the attention of international organizations fighting against domestic violence. She was invited to participate in conferences and events around the world where her voice became a powerful tool for change. Through her resilience and courage, Noela Rukundo turned a harrowing experience into a beacon of hope and strength for many others. Her journey is a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome and inspire, no matter the circumstances. However, Noela's life was not without new challenges. The pressure of public exposure and the constant harassment from people who believed she should have left Belenga earlier made her reconsider her role as a public figure. There were days when the emotional burden seemed unbearable, but the continued support of her children and close friends helped her stay firm in her mission. Noela also began working with young people, visiting schools and community centers to talk about healthy relationships and the dangers of control and emotional manipulation. Her story served as a warning, but also as a source of inspiration for those who felt they had no way out. Noela decided to invest in her education and personal development. She enrolled in psychology and counseling courses, aiming to become a specialized counselor to help victims of domestic violence. Her personal experience gave her a unique and empathetic perspective, making her a trusted and inspiring figure for those seeking support. Meanwhile, Noela also started writing a book about her life. The work, in addition to recounting her incredible journey, aimed to be a guide for other women, showing that survival and overcoming are possible. The book, titled Live to Tell, soon attracted the attention of publishers and became a bestseller, reaching an international audience. In addition to her career as a counselor and writer, Noela dedicated herself to charity and advocacy initiatives. She founded a non-profit organization dedicated to providing resources and support to women and children in risky situations. The organization, called Renaissance, offered shelter, legal assistance, and rehabilitation programs for victims of domestic violence. As time went by, Noela found a new partner who supported her unconditionally. Together, they created a loving and safe environment for their children. Noela's experience made her an even more dedicated mother and a tireless advocate for justice and equality. Noela's final message to everyone who follows her journey is clear: never give up fighting for a better future. With courage, support, and determination, it is possible to overcome any obstacle and find the peace and happiness that everyone deserves. Her story is a beacon of hope, illuminating the path to a world where domestic violence is a thing of the past and where everyone can live with dignity and respect.